I know this project, in my mind, this proposal isn't complete until we do have a limited number of inpatient beds. And also we have some maternity service. So we're not asking for the world. And if we regain just a portion of our lost statistics, and it's not to the detriment of any other institution that can be supported. So I differ with Spence when he says we're always going to need support, and we're always going to get support of public dollars in the form of reimbursements or whatever, grants, and that's possible. I mean, that's how we've operated for years. But my old geometry teacher always said, figures lie and liars figure. You can't base all decisions on statistics. There's a human element.
Most clinicians can deliver a baby. But the other day, I was even on call. I got called in at 6 in the morning because there was a baby in a crisis. There was a baby who was dying. That's the question is, who's going to take care of those babies when there's a problem? I mean, I know the ambulance guys are great, but when you got a newborn, you need someone who really knows what they're doing. Those are the things that I fear are going to take place when you're going to maternity services. With that said, we worked on that baby for 3 hours, and I've talked to Sean about this. I mean, there's gonna be some tragedies trying to get pregnant women to dance. With that said, talking about what Spence said, and I agree with Dr. Annabelle about, we're losing money. The question is, what about a smaller facility with the beds that Sean's saying, 15 beds? Okay, right now we need $6 million a year. I can't imagine a smaller facility. Right now we have 500 plus employees. We have huge heating, cooling deficits. I mean, the money we lose on heating that hospital every winter is enormous. The money to air conditioning is enormous. The money for all the different offices and executives and different staff and whatnot. I mean, of course some people will lose their jobs, but it won't be 500 plus people in a smaller, compact facility. And I can't imagine that the deficit would be $6 million a year in a small hospital that can really serve the needs. That's one question. The other one is, a lot of this is assumptions that Oak Orchard gets the funding. They find the doctors, they find the dentist. What's the plan if they don't?
Right.
What's the backup plan?
Right.
Thanks, Izzy. I think that's something, again, that we can do to help ensure they do get the providers and the support of the community. Because really, the whole hard, cold reality, is that without this proposal going forward, we would be left with nothing. We are out of cash. We found a financially viable and sustainable solution, and so we need to, as a community, make this work. And so we need to do everything we can to make it work. So it's not a matter of saying, well, just add a little bit more to the building, add a little bit more of a loss, and find someone to pay for those differences. It basically puts the whole project at risk. And so just to understand that, it's not something that I'm sitting here saying I don't want inpatient. That's certainly not the case. But the numbers simply don't work, and right now there's no one that can fund the deficit and no one that'll pay for the building, because we need to get these funds to make this work.
You can't anticipate, nor can you predict, who is going to have a problem with a surgical procedure. All by how simple it is, all by how complicated it is. Nobody knows. And in today's world of malpractice, you have to be out of your mind to do any type of surgery with anesthesia without having any backup in the hospital. So what are you going to end up with? You're going to have, I can tell you right now, somebody who will do lumps and bumps, and that'll be it.
But there's 80,000 of us in the region. So how many letters and emails and phone calls will it take to Trinity or to the Department of Health? Help us find that money. Anything's possible if we all come together like they said. So the ways that you do that is you call, you email, you send letters, you write letters in regular mail. It doesn't have to be email. But we can all help, and we can continue to have those stories about how great our experiences are. We can change what happens here. We can dream and learn out. But we all got to do it together.
Steuben County Hornell Hospital, St. James,
has about 300 plus deliveries a year. Dansville has 300 plus deliveries a year. Jones has 300 plus deliveries a year. We have as many as Dansville and Wellsville. Now, if most of the people are going to go to Dansville, they're not big enough to take on this 300 influx of pregnant women and sick babies. You never know when that baby's going to be delivered, if they're going to be well or sick until they're delivered. So, are they prepared to handle that? And have you guys thought about that? And if so, you do need to understand that keeping maternity services here are just as important to the community as it is to the babies being delivered. They deserve to have that care, that chance, those minutes of survival that people in Dansville get and people in Wellsville get.
Now, you can't just close a hospital without approval, and so I want you to be clear that as part of this, what we're trying to do is maintain and preserve as many services as we can. So I would hate for you to leave this room thinking we're closing the door on March 31st and everything just goes away. What you will probably see if the transition happens on April 1st, I call the transition passing the baton to different owners. You will see us operating out of the building we're in today. It will take a year or two to build a new building. You'll see a lot where it is today. And so, you know, I just want to make sure you have that clear.
One of the first questions, I emailed Dan Shepard, who is the health department, the facilities guru. And I said, it appears that this community could be placed in a position of having no healthcare provider organizations if the hospital is allowed to go dark on March 31st, 2015. Is there the potential for that to happen? I got a resounding no from the health department. They're not going to approve any hospital closure plan until there's a plan in place. So go to bed tonight knowing that you'll have a hospital until this thing's sorted out.
Has Alstom been included in any of the planning? My understanding is that they are planning on ramping up their contracts and their workforce. So I just wonder if they've been included in the planning process. Thank you.
And the answer is yes, and we're aware of that, and our HR departments are working together.
Where are you planning on building this?
We're planning to build the facility over in the vacant lot in front of the nursing home, although that's not a done deal. And the reason being is we thought there could be a lot of efficiencies between the two organizations going forward. In particular, if those in the nursing home need to go to the emergency room, it would be easier on them than driving them across town.
Well, my thought on that subject is you're talking about a floodplain. And you're talking about access. I highly doubt that the state of New York is going to give you another red light for access to your hospital. You're going to have to come up with something on the existing connection between the Route 36 and Cleveland Avenue, North Cornell. And that is something that can take literally years to get approval on. It's something that should be started right now. If you're even considering building something, how much you're going to have to bring that field up.
I agree with you, and Stan, would you like to speak to this? We've started that.
Yeah, I can speak to that in terms of the space and the site location. Again, you're absolutely accurate, it's in a floodplain. Again, the design, we've been working with architects to look at the site plan, and at this point in time, we've received assurances from everyone that's looked at what we want to build, number one, and where we want to place it, that would not create a problem. The access that is there now for both the Mercy Care campus and Bethesda Drive, that was designed to handle substantially more traffic than it's experiencing right now, even with the lows there. So, you know, we're fairly certain right now that when you look at the overall site itself, that's one of the most desirable. And again, the way it was laid out originally for Mercy Care when they constructed the Lowe's, that access issues were resolved at that point in time. So I don't think that it would require a lot of additional approvals going forward for the plans.
Is that using the entire set of buildings, or, I mean, why couldn't you cut off half of it? I mean, sounds like your scaled-down model is not going to need much room.
At least the central portions of it, so when you look at the boilers and the heating systems and water and all the rest of that, it's a centralized system that services the entire campus, and so as new structures were built, it still revolves off of those same core services. So it's not like you can just look at one section and mothball it, where you can just shut it down and if there's no more cost associated with that. You still need to use the same system, and unfortunately, there's some modest cost savings associated with it, but nothing that would be substantial.
So what's the expected expense of building new?
I think the total cost that we have on the building and mortar itself is about $30 million.
I think you could do a lot with HVAC with $30 million.
Well, again, I mean,